Arabian Nights, Penquin Classics. What night are we on? Night 299. Morning dawned. Scheherazade broke off from what she had been allowed to say. Then, when it was the 299th night, she continued. I have heard, O fortunate king, the Khalid praised and glorified God, after which he preached a fine sermon. He then told the young man, I have married you to this girl, so-and-so, who is here present with her consent and approval and consent of her father to return for this marriage portion, which amounts to 10,000 dinars. I agree to this marriage at your hand, said the young man. On Khalid's orders, the money was carried to his house and set out in trays, while the young people dispersed happily. The narrator concluded, I never saw a more remarkable day, beginning as it did with tears and disasters and ending with happiness and joy. When Harun al-Rashid crucified Ja'far the Balmasid, he gave orders that everyone who mourned for him or lamented him should share his fate, and as a result the people refrained from doing this. As it happened, however, there was a Bedouin from a distant desert who used to visit Ja'far every year, bringing him an ode for which Ja'far would reward him with 1,000 dinars. And after taking this, the Bedouin would leave and would continue to use the money for his family expenses until the following year. When the Bedouin, following his usual custom, brought his ode only to find that Ja'far had been crucified, he went to the place of execution, and making his camel kneel, he recited his ode with bitter tears and in great sorrow. He then fell asleep, and in a dream he saw Ja'far, who said to him, You have put yourself to trouble, and on coming here you have found me in the state that you see. Set off for Basra and ask for so-and-so, one of the merchants of the town. Tell him that Ja'far the Barmecide greets him and asks him to give you 1,000 dinars by the token of the bean. When the Bedouin woke up, he left for Basra, where he asked after the merchant, and when he met him, he passed on the message that Ja'far had given him in his dream. The man wept so bitterly he almost died, but then he treated his visitor with honor and made him sit with him and entertained him well. For 3 days the Bedouin stayed there as an honored guest. When he was about to leave, his host presented him with 1,500 dinars. 1,000 of these, explained, is what Ja'far told me to give you, and 500 is a present from me to you. I shall also give you an annual payment of 1,000 dinars. As he was about to leave, the Bedouin said to the merchant, I conjure you by God to tell me about the bean, so that I may know how this began. The merchant said, At the start of my career, I was a poor man, hawking hot beans around the street of Baghdad, trying to make a living by selling them. One cold, rainy day, I went out without having anything to put on to protect me from the chill. One moment I was shivering because of the bitter cold, the next I was falling into poor rainwater, so bad was my condition that people would shudder to look at me. That day Ja'far was sitting with his intimates and his concubines in a palace overlooking the street. His eye fell on me, and out of pity he sent to me one of his followers to me. The man took me and brought me to his master, who, when he saw me, told me, Sell my people the beans you have with you. I started to weigh them out, and using a measure that I had with me in exchange for the portion of beans, everyone filled up my measure with gold. This went on until I had got rid of all the beans that I had with me, and there was nothing left in my basket. Then collected together all the gold that I had been given, and Ja'far asked me if I had any beans left. I don't know, I told him, and when I searched in the basket, I could only find one single bean. He took it from me, split it in two, and keeping one half for himself, and handing the other to one of his concubines, he asked her, "How much will you give for this half of the bean?" "Twice the amount of this gold," she told him. I was bewildered and said to myself, "This is impossible." But while I was standing there in amazement, she gave instructions to one of the maids who fetched twice as much gold as I had already got. Then Jafar said, "I will buy the half that I have taken for twice as much as the whole total, so take the price of your bean." These are quite stories. This is why it's 1,001 nights to read it. Yeah. That's just why you can't put this book down. The price of the bean. On his instructions, one of his servants collected all the money, put it in a basket. I took this and left, after which I came to Basra, where I used the money to set up as a trader. God, to whom be praise and grace, granted me prosperity, and so, if I give you 1,000 dinars each year as part of what Jafar gave me so generously, it will do me no harm at all. Look then at the generous nature of Jafar, who won praise both in life and after his death. May the mercy of Almighty God be on him. While Harun al-Rashid was seated one day on his royal throne, a young eunuch came into his presence carrying a crown of red gold set with pearls and gems, sapphires, and other precious stones beyond all price. He kissed the ground before the Caliph and said, "Commander of the faithful, the Lady Jabada." Now, you know how she stops in the middle of the story. It's now night 300. Morning now dawned, and Scheherazade broke off from what she had been allowed to say. Her sister said, "What a good story this is, and how pleasant, sweet, and agreeable." Scheherazade replied, "I cannot compare with what I shall tell you this coming night, if the king spares me and lets me live." The king then said to himself, "By God, I shall not kill her until I have heard the rest of the tale." When it was the 300th night, her sister said, "Tell your story, Scheherazade." Willingly, Scheherazade replied, "If the king gives his permission." "Go on," said the king, and Scheherazade continued. "I have heard, O fortunate king, that the eunuch said to the Caliph, 'The Lady Zabada kisses the ground before you and says that you know she has had this crown made, but it needs to be topped with a great gem. She has searched through her treasures, but has not found anything large enough there to suit her purpose.' Harun told his chamberlains and deputies to look for a jewel that would do, but they failed to find anything suitable. This angered Harun, who said, 'I am the Caliph, king of the kings of the earth, but I cannot find one jewel. How can this be?' He told the men to ask the merchants. And they did. The merchants said, 'Our master, the Caliph, will only find this jewel in the possession of a man in Basra called Abu Muhammad the Sluggard.' When the Caliph was told this, he ordered his vizier, Jafar, to send a message to the Emir, Muhammad al-Jabari, the governor of Basra, telling him to make arrangements to have this man sent to the Caliph. Jafar wrote a note to this effect and gave it to Mashur, who set off with it to Basra. Muhammad was delighted by his arrival and treated him with the greatest respect, after which Masr read him the Caliph's note. This goes on and on. Huh? Oh, we can't finish it. But that's an idea of 1,000, and it takes 1,001 nights to read it. So, and I'm not going to give the story, so you have to wait. You have to listen to the next part. Yeah, you'll have to listen more to get this story. So you're stuck. So you can't not listen to more YouTube videos. Anyways, this is an example of Arabian Nights. That was night 300, and I don't understand who the translator is. It's not Richard Burton.